What's up, everybody? This is Trey Biddy with Hog Sports, coming to you from Hog Sports Studio. Arkansas just lost 63-60 to Indiana in Bloomington, and interesting finish to the game. Interesting stretch there for Arkansas the last 7 minutes or so. We're going to talk about that baseball game, recruiting. Danny West is going to join us. All happening on Hog Sports Live. So, interesting finish to the game. My thoughts just initially, I hate to keep harping on Gabe Osabuoye, and I'm not going to just put it all on him there, but jacking that three-pointer with 8:22 left, Indiana had just taken the lead in the game, and Gabe jacks a contested three-pointer, and from there on out, you only have one more field goal. Reggie Chaney hits the last field goal. Chaney wasn't even in the game at the end, and you had Gabe missed a couple of free throws. I've said before, Gabe does a lot of good things for you. I mean, let's bring up the stats real quick, actually. Let's go ahead and bring those up. Where do I have those? There we are. So here are the stats for the game. Gabe plays 27 minutes. He's got 3 points, 0 of 3 from three-point range. Is that right? 0 of 3. He shot 3 three-pointers. 1 of 4 from the free throw line. Missed 2 critical free throws there at the end. 6 rebounds. I don't mean to just harp on him, but because it's not his fault that he's in the game at the end. It's not his fault that he's in the game at the end. He doesn't have a lot of offense. And there are statistics, and I don't have them in front of me, that show, when he's shooting a three-pointer, bad things tend to happen afterwards. And in this particular case, you go 6 minutes and 58 seconds without a field goal. So it was just a really tough end. And for me personally, I like the way that Arkansas has been playing in the NIT, and I think this was a game that did mean something. I don't think this is just your regular NIT game. Like Providence didn't look like they really showed up to the game, but I thought Arkansas and Indiana both played hard. So for some of the positives, Indiana, first of all, has a better team without Arkansas having Daniel Gafford, but I just liked some of the things that Arkansas did. I didn't like the end of the game. I didn't like, you got 6.1 seconds left, and they inbounds to Jalen Harris, and for a second there, he looked like he didn't know what to do with the ball. He just kind of looked around like, did you have something drawn up? Was it supposed to go to somebody? And then shoots it way too early and has to heave a three-pointer. Jalen's not the guy that you want shooting the ball at the end of the game. He does a lot of good things. That's not what you want out of Jalen Harris. So, a disappointing end, but I thought for the most part they fought really hard. There's just a few things here and there, man. Gabe stopped shooting three-pointers. Stop shooting three-pointers. It's not his fault that he got to the line. He got the rebound there and got fouled, but got to knock down the free throws. Arkansas has to become a better free throw shooting team next season. There's no question about that. I want to go ahead and bring in Danny here in just a second, but let's take one more look here at the box. Let's see, Arkansas out-rebounded, not too dramatically out-rebounded. Won the turnover battle by a little bit. They were right there till the end. It's just that last stretch at the end of the game. So right before I bring Danny in, I want to go ahead and encourage everybody to start asking questions. If you haven't asked questions, throw us a like, share, follow the page. And also I want to bring up something else. We've got there are many different ways to listen or watch this. So you can, let's go ahead and bring this up right here. So obviously, we're on Facebook Live now. You can watch this on YouTube. I always upload it to YouTube later. You can subscribe to Hog Sports on, I believe it's under Hog Sports Live, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. I don't know if you can see Stitcher. There's Stitcher, YouTube right there. So you can get this many different ways. So a lot of different opportunities to tune into this show later for your listening or viewing enjoyment. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Danny West here. Oops. Let's go ahead and bring Danny in. Calling Danny West right now.
Mr. Biddy.
Danny, did you watch this game?
I watched it.
What'd you think?
Well, I think it was not a postseason game for this past season. I think it was more of a preseason game for next year.
Yeah.
The points in the paint, that's the first thing that stands out to me, 30 to 10.
30 to 10.
I think that's just a glimpse of what you've got ahead of you if you don't somehow go out and find some big men to come in and help replace Dan Gafford. That's just my biggest takeaway from it.
Hey,
really enjoyed the crowd there, man. That was impressive.
I thought so too.
Game. The pace,
it looked like
they
a great
changed up the
environment.
rules a little bit. Yeah, they changed the shot clock a little bit. I thought the pace was good, but outside of that, yeah, it's just the inside presence was not there.
Where was Reggie Chaney at the end of the game? Where was Ethan Henderson? Ethan played a pretty decent role the other night, but not in the game.
Good questions there, Trey. I mean, how do you miss a wide-open layup with a few seconds left in the game and then go up there and miss a couple of free throws? Of course, we're talking about Adrio Bailey and Gabe there. So I don't know. I don't get it either, bud. I wish I had a better answer for you.
They've got to find some help down low. I mean, just looking at the box score, obviously Desi Sills played his heart out. First of all, 5 fouls,
he was outstanding.
Fouled out a little too early. Finished with 18 points, 6 of 11 shooting, 4-6 from downtown. Even during that stretch in the first half where Arkansas, what did they go on an 8-2 stretch there? He missed two. His two shots that two of his shots that he missed were missed layups, and then he knocked down a 3-pointer. But I kind of go back, Danny, to that point where there's 8:22 left, and Gabe shoots a contested 3-pointer, one of his 3-pointers in the game. And then what happens from there on out? Reggie Chaney has a bucket, and then Arkansas doesn't score from the floor the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Or they might have scored there at the end from the floor. I can't remember, but just a really tough ending. And again, I thought that they played well overall. I thought it was fun to watch the guards. The guards aren't necessarily why they lost the game, even though, I mean, you look at it and, Joe didn't shoot the ball particularly well, 3 of 12. Jalen Harris was 3 of 6, 0 of 2 from 3-point range. You didn't shoot well enough from the free throw line, 14 of 20. Obviously, you'd like that to be a little bit more of an uptick. Didn't shoot very well in the second half, 9 of 26, 34.6%. That's not going to do it on the road, and Indiana was much better in the second half. So they've got to find some help down low. Ethan Henderson, I think, if he can add some bulk and make it where they're a little more comfortable with him, it can be a guy that can help him next year. Reggie Chaney, they got to improve his free throw shooters, especially down low. I mean, losing Gafford, he was 59%, but Chaney and Osaboyan are worse free throw shooters than Gafford is.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking right now? What's the possibilities in recruiting to get some help? I mean, to me, I think that they could possibly take this team and be pretty decent next year just based on what we've seen if they play like they had these last 2 games in terms of their intensity defensively and things like that. But they've got to have some help down low.
Yeah, well, the bad news is there's not really a guy out there that makes you go, hey, if they can just get that guy.
Is there a guy that can shoot free throws?
Yeah, I think let me just run through some names real quick.
Is there a guy that won't jack 3-pointers?
We can only hope. But Sean Stith is a power forward out at Saddleback Community College, 6'8", 255. That's a really big guy, but obviously not as tall as you would like probably, so they're going to recruit him as a power forward. Obviously, we already know that he's set an official visit for next weekend, this coming weekend. So, he's got some offers from like the Mountain West, the Big Sky Conference. So you would like to think that Arkansas is already in the lead going into next weekend, and well, they ought to be, So maybe that works out for you. That's a guy who averaged 16 points, 7 rebounds a game. He was the co-player of the year in his JUCO conference this year. So he shot 62% from the field, almost 30% from 3, which is a step ahead of some of these guys currently jacking them up out there. And then Raymond Hawkins is still on the table. I forgot to mention Raymond. He's the center at Findlay Prep out there in Nevada, and he's going to announce next Saturday. So a week from today, and he's got a top 3 going into next Saturday of Buffalo, Arkansas, and Arizona State. Now, I fully expect Buffalo to get him next week, but
oh, you think so?
He has promised Arkansas an official visit.
Both those teams made the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, that's a disadvantage. So, but even if he does commit to one of those others, and I think it's going to be Buffalo next week, I don't think it's over. I think you'll still get a chance to get him on campus, and we'll see how that goes. Chris Harris is a 4-star shooting guard out of Garland, Texas. He was recently released from his national letter of intent at A&M, following their coaching change, obviously. So still in the ball game there, just threw an offer at him. So obviously a shooting guard is not going to address your biggest need going into next year, but he's on the table.
Yeah. Well, I think there are a few answers on this team also, as we mentioned, with Ethan Henderson, and they're going to add some guys, but Ethan can bulk up a little bit. He's got some offensive game. Reggie Chaney can improve a little bit. He's starting to, looks like, maybe develop a bit of a jumper.
I'm with you on
got
that.
Got to improve as a free throw shooter. Obviously, he's kind of got funny mechanics when it comes to that. Like he doesn't, I don't know, something doesn't match up right. And Gabe Osabuoyen spent a lot of time at the free throw line, and I mean, I hate to say practice your threes, but if he's going to take threes, then you start practicing threes. But
yeah,
and I like Gabe. I don't mean to harp on him because he does. I always say that Gabe Osabuoyen is the guy in the one-on-one pickup, or the just the pickup game that you don't want guarding you, because he's elbows and he takes defense way too seriously. He's a guy that tries to take a charge in a pickup game.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't understand how he's allowed to shoot three-pointers. I put that on Mike too. I mean, Mike should be telling him to stop shooting threes, and it's not like they're almost going in. There's some ugly ones, and I thought it was probably the worst thing.
Off the side of the backboard today.
I mean, it was probably the worst thing for him to have made one against Providence, and that one even just kind of rattled home. So yeah, I mean, I hate to sound like I keep harping on Gabe, and I don't like to put it on the players a lot. I know it hurts them when they lose, but Gabe has a lot of qualities. It's just offense is not necessarily one of them, and I don't know that he should have been in the game there at the end. We got baseball coming up, Danny. What do you think about baseball here in just a little bit?
Well, you can't argue with what happened yesterday. Obviously, 12-3 win on the road in conference play. You're 4-0 in conference play. Personally, I think you probably should have held on to that shutout last night.
Yeah.
Comes in and late in the game, an Alabama guy comes in and kind of stinks up the joint a little bit yesterday. So he allowed 3 runs, didn't get the shutout, but Herstad, Dominic Fletcher, Goodhart, and Kenley, I think they accounted for 11 of the 15 hits last night, I think that's right. And, of course, Nesbitt came in. He had a 2-run shot late in the game. All of that's good, and what makes it even better is we haven't even mentioned Casey Martin. I think he's one of 17, one of his last 17 at bats. So when they're struggling with Casey Martin, when he's struggling and they're still able to put up, 15 hits, 12 runs in a road conference game against anybody, I think they're going to be okay with that. And, of course, you got to mention Isaiah Campbell, another strong outing last night. Christian Franklin, what he did defensively last night was really impressive. So got to go win this one, or at least come away with 2 of 3. I think they're capable of sweeping Alabama, and they probably ought to go ahead and do it.
Yeah. I want to remind everybody, first of all, we're talking with Danny West here at hogsports.com. I want to remind everybody there's multiple ways to listen to this show. Obviously, this is Facebook Live. It's also going to be on YouTube. You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. So a number of ways to listen to the show. I want to go ahead and encourage everybody, if you haven't thrown us a like, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up here, comment, follow, share, all of those things. If you're listening via podcast, throw us 5 stars and subscribe to the content, the Hog Sports channel, and that will help us get our message out. I want to go to a couple of questions here for you, Danny.
Okay.
We'll read over comments and see what we got. Mark Osbrook says Mike has got to go. Austin Gibson asks does Mike stay or go, and to be honest, I kind of lean towards him staying right now. I just think
that's how it feels.
Yeah, it just feels that way. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I thought somebody brought up a good comment on hogsports.com on the Razor's Edge message board. If Mike weren't tied to the '94 national championship, do you think he'd have this long? I think there is a bit of sentimental value attached to him.
Sure. Yeah, he's, as Arkansas people would say, he's our guy, know. You kind of stick around with some of those guys at times, even to a fault, So there is something to that, I think.
Look at what's going on around the SEC right now. If you look at the landscape of the coaching changes and stuff that are happening. You really don't have a whole lot nationally. It's UCLA, Washington State. There may be some more come about, but as far as the big jobs, not a whole lot of changeover right now. But in the SEC, you know, there's obviously talk about Avery Johnson at Alabama. And, you know, Avery didn't ever really, you know, there were 20, 18 wins every year, never really were getting over the hump. Bryce Drew, I thought, deservedly was fired. I mean, you can't go 0-18, 0-19 with the SEC game in your conference in any year, you know, especially not year 3. And I don't care if Michael Jordan was hurt at the beginning of the year, and I know they lost a 5-star guard, but I mean, come on, man, you gotta win a game here and there. LSU obviously probably going to have a change there with Will Wade, unless something, you know, totally out of the blue comes about that. And Texas A&M fired Billy Kennedy.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That's the one right there that is really driving Arkansas people nuts, you know, because they're sitting there looking, kind of projecting a little bit. Okay, you start putting the pieces together. Who's the first name A&M's going to go after? It's Buzz Williams, who a lot of Arkansas people
for years.
Eight years ago.
People wanted Buzz Williams 8 years ago. And A&M will open the pocket, but here's the deal: everybody's going to pay $2 to $3 million for a coach, most likely. I mean, A&M, if they find the right guy, you know, kind of like in football, they'll probably open up the pocketbook. But here's the deal with Billy Kennedy: he didn't do what his predecessors did. You know, his predecessors, Gillespie and Turgeon, they went to 6 straight NCAA tournament appearances. You know, and Kennedy, I don't think, did as good a job at Texas A&M as Mike Anderson has done at Arkansas. That may shock some people, and I'm not saying it's overwhelming, but aside from going to 2 Sweet 16s, which Texas A&M did do, I don't think that he did as much overall during the regular seasons as Anderson did. But he did have 7 years there, and I know that's something that Arkansas fans are kind of comparing. I'm not saying that Anderson should stay or should go. I'll reiterate what my sources have said. It's going to be up to Hunter Yurachek. There is a lot of discussion about changeover with assistant coaches, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. But my gut tells me right now that there's not going to be a change, that Anderson will get another year. So let's see here, Danny. We want to go over a couple of these questions. Again, a lot of comments about Anderson. Who's coming to help this team? I think we answered that. Craig, for you, whose possibility anyway. James David Root says, why does Gabe play so much? Horrible free throws, lacks urgency and attention, no shooting. Yeah, I feel like we're covering what the Razorback fan base wants. Young team, did a great job this year. They are a young team. I mean, you have to take into account that they're young in a lot of ways because Anderson put them in this situation. You know, it is year 8 again. Miss D says, UH coach is a great choice. Arkansas AD, good friends.
He's like 60, 65 years old or something.
Yeah, is that the guy that you want to start things off? You know, most of you were talking with Houston Nutt, and, you know, he always expressed regret that he didn't take a job, you know, soon after he was let go by Ole Miss. And you got all these search firms and stuff out there, and they want a young guy. They're out there to hire the next big up-and-coming guy. So, I think, you know, whoever they would bring in would probably be a little bit younger, but 65 is a little bit older.
Man, I look around right now, and I think they would have to go with an up-and-comer, you know, like the Buffalo, Nevada guy, somebody like that. I don't know that I would say the Buffalo. I don't think Oates is an up-and-comer. I mean, Buffalo is a 6 seed. Sure. He's been getting it done there. I mean, I know he's technically at a mid-major, but I don't know. I don't look at that the same. I think he's a hot name right now. My point is, I'm not sure if you could even go get a Buzz Williams right now, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think it would have to take a lot of money, a lot of money. Well, he's established that program by himself out there. Yeah. They're paying him well, too.
Yeah, they are. Here's the deal. In the SEC, everybody's getting $2 to $3 million, except for Calipari. You know, if you look at Kansas, you know, Self is getting upwards of $7 million. Calipari's getting upwards of $7 million. If you expect to have Kansas, Kentucky type results, you got to pay for it. You know,
you got to pay.
And do we want to sit here and watch Arkansas?
What are you recommending there, Trey?
Well,
who do they need to pay?
The coach. What I'm saying is, you know, do we want to? If Arkansas were to make a change, do we want to see them go out after an up and coming comer, or do you want to finally see them go after a guy that is proven? Arkansas hasn't done anything notable in 24 years. 24 years since they went to a Sweet 16. And they've had a few good seasons. I mean, they won 22 games, 26 games, 27 games, and I think 23 games in different years with Mike Anderson. Maybe it was 24. But they haven't advanced in the NCAA tournament. And to me, when I talk about like reaching fan expectations at Arkansas, it's putting together a great regular season, 24-plus wins, something like that, and making a little bit of noise in the NCAA tournament by at least getting to the Sweet 16. James David Root wants to know, why does Adrio Bailey play so much? And I think it's really a lack of bodies right there, but he makes a good point too. Adrio hasn't provided just a whole lot, and I'm not saying he shouldn't play, but what's his stat line here? Bailey, where are you at? 8 points, 3 of 8, 2 of 2, 4 rebounds. I mean, not awful. 29 minutes, though. I mean, yeah, I mean, Bailey, he's got that. He's got a shot that
missed a wide open layup there.
He did. Oh, he did. There's no question he did. He has a shot. You almost wish you could combine those guys a little bit. You know, Adrio has that, 13, 15 footer that he can knock down fairly consistently. Combine Gabe Osaboyan's defense and Reggie Chaney's, presence around the basket, presence around the basket, and maybe you got a player there. I still think Chaney has a chance to really take things to the next level next year. He needs to become a better free throw shooter. And there are even, there's all kinds of rumors about players leaving and stuff. And I don't know that I'm totally, but I mean, players are going to leave. 40% of college basketball players transfer out. Jeremy Brighton says, I've been aggravated by the team a lot this year, and at one point even joined the Fire Mac contingency, but I honestly think he should get one more year. I kind of feel like there is a segment of fans that felt that way after the Florida game, and maybe have changed their mind a little bit with the NIT, even whether you should take one game away or not. I thought that this game was a high-intensity game where both teams desperately wanted to win.
Oh, they got after it, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think this was a situation where Arkansas acted like they didn't want to be there. I felt like they were fighting for something, which makes me think, there's that whole idea that, well, they quit on Mike. They want change and stuff. I don't know that they would be fighting like that if that were the case.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'll tell you, man, when you look outside the state of Arkansas and look at the bordering states, I think a lot of that is playing in right here. I mean, what Oklahoma's been able to do under Lon Kruger, maybe LSU is a bad example based on everything they've got going on with Wade, but Ole Miss made the tournament, Mississippi State, and of course we mentioned A&M, and I would guess they're probably going to go after Buzz Williams, and if they do and they get their guy because he's from that area, look out. I mean, they're always going to get the talent. So, man, I feel their pain, man.
I would hate to hate Buzz Williams because I like him.
I know. He's
I like
such
him
a good
so
guy.
much. Why do I like that guy? Why does everybody like that? It's not like he's like just made this huge run in the NCAA tournament at Marquette or Virginia Tech, But
well, if you've heard his story,
I know he's got an amazing story. Yeah, I love his charity. I mean, it's an amazing story, and you never get the sense that he's not giving it everything he's got. He just comes off kind of as a workaholic and a guy that stays up with it when it comes to basketball.
He's done a couple of things there where in the middle of a game he goes over and grabs the microphone and tells the students to stop cussing. At the refs. And the video of him making his players stand up and how to act during the national anthem. I mean,
thank you, Buzz. That was fantastic.
Over.
Yeah, that was before all the kneeling and all that stuff was taking place.
It was before that.
We don't sway. We stand at attention. I thought that was a great breakdown by him about how to show respect for the flag and the servicemen and everybody that give us what we have here. It's hard not to like that guy, but I tell you what, if he was wearing maroon over at Texas A&M, I think people would find a way. Let's see.
You find a way to hate him.
Josh Doherty says they played hard, just inconsistent down the stretch. With you on Gabe shooting threes. Why aren't we going to the grad transfer from UALR, says Josh. Anthony.
That's another thing, man.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they've put themselves in a position now to where they kind of have to get lucky a little bit. You know, with this JUCO guy coming in, I'm sure he's a good player, but his offers are Big Sky, Mountain West. You know, that doesn't excite people. So maybe you could work yourself into a transfer at some point. I don't know, but
do you feel
you're
like
kind of banking on that now?
Do you feel like they're a little bit behind in terms of seeking a replacement for Gafford? I mean, here we are. It just feels like it was like late. It's kind of like, oh, Gafford may go pro. We got to get in on some big guys, you know? Because there was a while where it was like they're going to bring in one guy, and now you're talking about like 3 or 4 guys coming in. It just feels like they're late to the party, and I don't know. I don't understand.
And they had a year to expect it. I mean, nobody expected more than 2 years out of Gafford. Sure, they knew it. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Brooks says, here we go with Mike needs to go. If Mike leaves, then there goes your team. Those guys will transfer. I mean, no matter what happens, whenever you make a coaching change, you're going to have that. You're going to have transfers anyway. As we mentioned, 40% of basketball players leave. Doug Gines says, if Gabe Osbourne shoots another 3, why does Mike think it's okay for these shooters? He's open. You know, Mike kind of got onto a reporter a while back about Gabe shooting 3s, and I agree with the reporter. I mean, I was talking to somebody who had it broken down. I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's a pretty bad statistic after Gabe shoots a 3-pointer. You know, what happens after that, and we saw that. 6 minutes 58 seconds without a field goal. Some will if we don't make a change, like Chaney. There has been like smoke, people talking about Chaney's might leave, but I don't understand why Chaney wasn't in the game at the end. I want to remind everybody, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up if you have not done so yet, and be sure to like, follow the page, share the video with others. If you're listening on podcast, throw us 5 stars. Throw us 5 stars. That helps us get our message out there. Subscribe to the page. As I mentioned earlier, you can follow us. You can watch us on Facebook Live. You can watch us on YouTube. I'll upload it to YouTube after this. We'll be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Just go to the Hog Sports. Just search for Hog Sports on any of those channels, and it'll come up. And go ahead and subscribe. Danny, you want to keep talking basketball, or you want to change gears a little bit? You want to talk a little spring football for a minute?
Yeah, I'm down for whatever, man.
So,
you just tell me.
Well, spring football picks up again here. Sunday, the players report. Tuesday, they hold their 8th practice. I think I've said before, I think there's a different rhythm, a different energy out there to spring football. I wish I could watch a little bit more of it. It's been obviously hard on me because, you know, we feel like we can separate ourselves from our coverage a little bit with the more exposure that we get to spring football. But what has been your thoughts so far? I personally, I came out with a breakdown the other day why Arkansas can get to a bowl game next year, and I think it starts with the quarterback room. I think it starts with, you know, having some new blood up there on the offensive line. Not anything against the seniors, but I just think some new blood is a good thing. Most of the roster in August will be Chad Morris players. I think 55.6% of the roster, if nothing changes from now and then, they'll be Chad Morris players. I think they're and playmakers. Obviously, a huge difference with playmakers. Then there's plenty of reasons why they might not. You know, depth at linebacker, young in the secondary, you know, things like that. But I think that they've done a great job of adding the right pieces, and it starts with quarterback. I mean, having 2 guys like Ben Hicks and Nick Starkel competing for the quarterback job, and those freshmen being a year older now, that's going to make a huge difference.
Yeah, you start to like the pieces that they've put together there, but I'm still most curious about the offensive line because this is the time of year where you've got to start getting it right. I hate when a team goes into fall camp. You can tell a lot about it, how a team's going to do in the season. If they go into fall camp and they're still kind of shuffling guys on the offensive line and still trying to figure out, you know, who's the best 5. Now, maybe the first week, 10 days into fall camp, but boy, when you get up towards game week and you're still doing that, that's always a sign that it's about to get ugly.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think they've got enough guys now that they've finally got an opportunity to start figuring that out in spring, as opposed to, you know, banking on guys figuring it out for themselves in fall camp. So, you know, you get Noah Gatlin back from sickness, injury, whatever he's been dealing with, and I think he's a really big key, man. I don't know about everybody else, but when I watched him in those 4 games last year or whatever it was, but I was always impressed with him. He's just got the look to me. I think he showed some things as a true freshman last year. I think they can build on, and he would be your right tackle. So that would leave some guys. Myron Cunningham is a guy they keep talking about, really high on him at the left side. Yeah. And then what do you do with Nwana? Is he a guard? How's that going to shake out? But yeah, I think he's got to be.
I mean, I think it makes sense. I think you can build some competition. You cross-train Clinton at guard and center. Of course, he's out right now, but Clinton can play center, I think. And it's not like Clary has set the world on fire at center. He needs somebody to push him, and there's not anybody really. I don't know that Silas Robinson is quite there yet to be able to push him, but Clinton is. And to me, your ideal starting 5, I think Myron Cunningham emerges at left tackle. Noah Gatlin, I think, is a solid option at right tackle. So, and then you've got Dalton Wagner and Colton Jackson. They're pushing, and Colton has needed to be pushed because nobody's really pushed him in a couple of years. You got Clinton and Ty Clary, battling at center, and I think Clinton could take that spot and Nwana eventually be your guard. I think Nwana is more likely to be a guard than a tackle based on what you've got at tackle. And then Austin Capps, you'd hope he's, a year along is going to benefit him greatly. So
if they could just get that right, Trey, if they could just figure out that offensive line, I think there are pieces to finally start getting that offense going.
Yeah. Anything you want to add on recruiting, Danny? We're going to wrap it up here in a second, but I know people want to hear about football recruiting. It wouldn't be right to have you on here without a little football recruiting discussion.
Actually had quite a few big pieces of news the last 24 hours or so. You've got some big-time guys starting to trim down their lists. Must be something in the spring break water this week. But you saw 4-star cornerback safety Miles Slusher, he cut it down to 10 last night. Arkansas still alive there. 4-star cornerback Ryan Watts.
Hey, Slusher, real quick, Danny. Slusher left out OU, right?
Yeah, but they haven't offered. He's and understandably so. He's a little bit salty at him. I get it.
Is it too late for him? Are they out?
Probably. But Oklahoma, they like to sneak in there around December and offer a guy and try to make up. I'm not sure that's going to work with this one. Yeah, Miles, he's got a little chip on his shoulder.
There's been some comments from Miles.
Yeah, once you go public and make public comments like that, the writing's on the wall there, I think. But Ryan Watts cut it to 10, a cornerback out of Little Elm, Texas. He, of course, has already set his official visit here for May 3rd through the 5th, so no surprise that they made the cut for Ryan. They were the second team in there to offer him behind Illinois State, so keep an eye on that one. Mark Smith is working him really hard. Tight end Brandon Frazier cut it to 8. No surprise there. Arkansas made the cut. He'll be back for an official. And then probably the biggest one was Prince Dorba, the defensive end, outside linebacker. I forget his hometown. I apologize. But he's a kid out of Texas. He cut it to 5. Arkansas, LSU, Oklahoma, Texas, and Oklahoma State. Oh, yeah, he's a stud now. Yeah. And I think Texas is probably going to be really tough to beat. But hey, good to make his top 5. That probably assures you of an official visit, so you never know.
All right. Well, I appreciate that information, Danny. We don't want to bleed into baseball. Baseball coming up here in a second, so we're going to go ahead and sign off. And, I want to remind everybody one more time, if you haven't thrown us that thumbs up, go ahead and throw us the thumbs up. If you're listening on podcast, then be sure to throw us 5 stars, subscribe to the channel. Again, you can just search that, Hog Sports, HAWG Sports. But be sure to follow the page, share the video with others. If you think people might like this content, be sure to share. But I think that'll pretty much do it. Hog Baseball here starting in about 10 minutes for us. For Danny West, this has been Trey Biddy with hogsports.com, and we'll catch you next time.